First, welcome to our deep dive on the high-income liquidity conflict, how to balance an emergency fund with retirement savings. Today we will set the stage by defining the problem, outlining proven strategies, and giving you a clear, actionable plan to protect your present while accelerating your future. Next, here is our roadmap. We will begin with the core conflict, then explain why liquidity comes first. After that, we will dive into tax optimization, including Roth versus traditional contributions for high earners. Then we will show how to accelerate your emergency fund with a high-yield savings account, followed by the standard financial order of operations. We will then walk through a step-by-step plan, review example numbers, map out key risks, and finally test your knowledge with quick quizzes before summarizing next steps. Now let us define the conflict. High earners often feel pressure to aggressively fund retirement to maximize compounding. However, unstable industries or new-to-high-income transitions introduce risk. Without adequate liquidity, even a large retirement balance may not prevent financial stress during a job loss or downturn. Therefore, we will use a data-driven framework to prioritize liquidity while maintaining long-term momentum. Before we proceed, a quick disclaimer. This content is educational and not financial, tax, or legal advice. You should consult a qualified professional who understands your situation. Additionally, tax rules and contribution limits change, so always verify current regulations with official sources. Lastly, investing involves risk, and past performance does not guarantee future results. Moving on, liquidity comes first because it protects your ability to pay essential bills during job loss, medical events, or market downturns. Aim for 6 to 12 months of living expenses in an emergency fund. Liquidity prevents forced liquidation of long-term investments during down markets. While you prioritize the emergency fund, continue small, consistent retirement contributions to maintain momentum and benefit from dollar-cost averaging. If your plan offers an employer match, try to at least capture it while building liquidity. Next, this flowchart illustrates a standard order of operations. First, build an emergency fund with 6 to 12 months of living expenses. Then, optimize tax-advantaged accounts, ensuring you capture any employer match, and select traditional or Roth contributions based on your current marginal tax rate. A decision diamond highlights that if your marginal rate is high, generally at or above the mid-20s, traditional can be advantageous now because it reduces current taxable income. Finally, once those are optimized, you allocate additional funds to taxable brokerage accounts for flexible investing. Additionally, to accelerate your emergency fund, consider switching retirement contributions from Roth to traditional if your marginal tax bracket is around 24% or higher. This reduces current taxable income and increases your take-home pay. Direct those tax savings to a high-yield savings account. Maintain some retirement contribution, for example, 3 to 5%. To continue dollar-cost averaging, set a target of 6 to 12 months of essential expenses, leaning toward the higher end if your income or industry is volatile. Automate transfers on payday to enforce consistency. Finally, if you need extra cash, use taxable brokerage funds before accessing tax-advantaged accounts. Furthermore, let us compare Roth and traditional contributions for high earners. Roth contributions are made after tax, providing no current tax reduction, but withdrawals can be tax-free if qualified. This is appealing if you expect higher tax rates in retirement. However, when building an emergency fund and facing a high marginal tax rate, traditional contributions can be more effective because they reduce current taxable income and increase take-home pay. That additional cash can flow directly into your high-yield savings account. After your emergency fund is solid, you can reassess and potentially shift more toward Roth if it aligns with your long-term tax outlook. Now consider these illustrative numbers. With a $200,000 salary and a 10% contribution rate, switching from Roth to traditional in a 32% marginal tax bracket can save roughly $533 per month in taxes. That amount can be redirected to the emergency fund. Over 12 months, that adds approximately $6,396 to liquidity. These figures are simplified examples and exclude other payroll factors. Your results will vary based on your exact tax situation. Next, this timeline shows how to build your emergency fund over a year. At month 0, define your emergency fund target. Switch to traditional contributions if appropriate. Open a high-yield savings account and automate transfers. From months 1 to 6, consistently fund the account using tax savings from your traditional contributions and any budget adjustments while maintaining a small retirement contribution. From months 7 to 12, Continue funding until your emergency reserve reaches 6 to 12 months of essential expenses. At that point, reassess your contribution mix and consider increasing Roth contributions if it aligns with your tax outlook. Then, follow these steps. First, calculate essential monthly expenses and set a 6 to 12 month emergency fund target. Second, if your marginal bracket is around 24% or higher, switch retirement contributions from Roth to traditional to increase take-home pay. Third, open or confirm a high-yield savings account and automate transfers. Fourth, keep a small retirement contribution for consistency and capture any employer match if available. Fifth, direct all tax savings and surplus cash to the emergency fund until you reach your target. Sixth, if you need liquidity along the way, draw from taxable brokerage funds before tapping retirement accounts. Seventh, once your emergency fund is complete, maximize tax-advantaged accounts and then add to taxable investments. After that, this mind map lays out major liquidity risks. Job loss can occur due to industry volatility or limited severance. Market downturns create sequence of returns risk and the possibility of forced selling. Health events introduce medical costs and potential gaps in disability coverage. Concentration risk arises from reliance on a single employer or variable bonuses. Additionally, large life events such as moving, family changes, or significant repairs can strain cash flow. The emergency fund connects to and mitigates each of these risks by providing accessible liquidity. Moreover, prioritize taxable brokerage assets for liquidity before touching retirement accounts. This protects tax-advantaged growth and avoids penalties or complex tax consequences. Be aware of capital gains when selling, and consider tax loss harvesting if appropriate. Maintain sufficient allocation to short-term, low-volatility assets for upcoming cash needs. Now it is quiz time. Question: what should generally be prioritized for high earners facing instability? Building a 6 to 12 month emergency fund or maximizing retirement contributions immediately? The options are: A. Maximize retirement right away. B. Build a 6 to 12 month emergency fund first while maintaining small retirement contributions. C. Stop all retirement contributions until the emergency fund is complete. Or D. Only invest in taxable accounts. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section. The correct answer is B. Prioritize a 6 to 12 month emergency fund because liquidity protects you from forced selling and short-term cash shortfalls. Continue small retirement contributions to maintain momentum and dollar-cost averaging. Next quiz question: if you are a high earner in roughly the 24 to 32% bracket and you are building your emergency fund, which 401k contribution type often increases take-home pay to fund liquidity? The options are: A. Roth 401k, B. Traditional pre-tax 401k, C. Stop contributing, or D. After-tax non-Roth contributions. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section. The correct answer is B. Traditional pre-tax 401k. Pre-tax contributions reduce current taxable income, increasing take-home pay that can be redirected to a high-yield savings account to fund the emergency reserve. In summary, focus on liquidity first by building a 6 to 12 month emergency fund. Maintain small retirement contributions to preserve momentum. If you are in a higher marginal bracket, consider traditional contributions while building the emergency fund to increase take-home pay. Redirect those tax savings to a high-yield savings account. Follow the financial hierarchy of emergency fund, then tax-advantaged accounts, then taxable brokerage. Finally, use taxable assets for liquidity before retirement accounts. Finally, your next steps are clear. Calculate your emergency fund target and automate transfers. Optimize your tax approach to increase cash flow. Protect long-term investments by avoiding forced selling through adequate liquidity. After the emergency fund is complete, rebalance your strategy to maximize tax-advantaged accounts and then add to taxable investments. As we close, thank you for watching. If this was helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. In the comments, tell us your emergency fund target and whether you plan to switch contribution types while you build it. We look forward to your thoughts.